Why? Because you made the story important and not the lines. You aren't in a contest with yourself to duplicate a tape. You are suddenly in a contest to move the audience, and the lines will be there because they serve the experience, not because you're trying to be a good little student who gets close to 100%. Because that's what you'll be doing. You'll be running 100% in your head and be scoring yourself for every little line and inflection you miss along the way that isn't the tape. It is setting yourself up to be less than perfect. Whereas, if your devotion is to the story, and I don't care what lines I use, I want to make sure this story moves the audience, pretty soon the lines will want to be there. Because they will serve that experience, they will serve the story, and you will learn lines faster that way than this other way you're trying to do it by rote. Okay? Bunk. That's bunk, that way of learning lines. All right. Casting directors. There are mean people in every sphere of life. There are mean nuns. Any of you ever gone to a Catholic school? There are a couple of mean nuns. Okay? They're also lovely, sweet, caring nuns. There are mean doctors. People who have taken an oath to heal and help, and some of them are mean. There's some really mean poodle groomers. There are mean cops. Right? There are mean people in the world, and there are some really mean casting directors. Most of them are not, just because most people are not. Most people aren't mean. Casting directors aren't trying to be mean, except the mean ones. And they're going to be mean wherever they are. That's how they are. They're not mean because they're casting directors. They're mean because they're mean people, and they're probably mean people because some parent hurt them. Probably. I don't know. But it certainly has nothing to do with actors, I can assure you that. They're just taking it out on actors. But there are few of those. Most casting directors are kind of nice people. They kind of would like you to succeed. You know what makes them act mean? No. I want you to think about this. I want you to really think about this. I want you to think about having a job where all you did was to deny other people their dream. All you did was to say no. All you did was to squash somebody's desire. And you did it 2 or 3 or 23 or 53 times a day. You said no. Because casting directors never get to say yes. Directors say yes, networks say yes, producers say yes. Casting directors only say no. Now, they aren't real happy about that. They don't feel real good because they are constantly stepping on bright-eyed actors. Well, actually, they'd be happy if it were just bright-eyed actors. What's really hurtful is they're stepping on desperate actors. Because a lot of you walk in desperate. You don't walk in to bring joy to the room. You don't walk in to tell a story. You walk in because I got to get a job. Because a job means my agent will like me. And if my agent likes me, they'll keep me. And if they keep me, maybe I'll get more opportunities. And if I get good credit and get a thing, then maybe I'll get more things. And maybe I'll be a star, and then Mother will approve of the fact that I want it to be this crazy thing. And So people who only get to say no and are faced with desperation all day probably are not going to be terribly pleasant people. So you've got to be understanding about that. Wow. That's probably tough. So I'm going to choose to not come in with a whole lot of desperation and know these poor folks are probably going to have to say no to me. Chances are, because even if you go the distance and you get called back and all the things that happen, the casting directors don't have anything to do with that. It's somebody else that got to move you up the line and say yes, got to hire you, Somebody else gets all the yesing. They get all the knowing. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's one of the reasons that I quit. I thought, I can't say no to one more human being. It's just really, so that's bunk, that they're out to stop you, to hurt you, to deny you, they wish, I can tell you, as a casting person, I always wished I had 20 more audition slots, and that I had twice as much time, and that I had twice as much stamina, so I could meet more actors. Not because it's a nice thing to do, but because the more I met, the more I would know, and the more interesting ones I could bring to callbacks, and the more jobs I would get. It was utterly selfish. Well, not utterly, but a lot. A lot of it was just, the more actors I know, and the more good ones, and the more I can encourage them, and the better auditions they give, the better I look as a casting director, and the better I look as a casting director, the more jobs I'm going to get. So I wanted that. But what I couldn't counteract sometimes was, you are so desperate that it doesn't matter what I do. And yet I would. Now, some casting directors I was terminally encouraging, just because it felt better every day. I think a lot of casting directors, especially over the years, just go, oh man, have a whole no day again today. So many of them are going to look at me like, I'm not getting it, am I? No, you're not. I'm sorry. And so what they do to avoid, it's like how many of you have raised a puppy? You know how hard it is to discipline them and rub their nose in the poo, and you got to do it, and this is like torture. That's what casting directors do all day. They slap you with little rolled up newspapers. They don't like it. They don't like it. It's hard, It's bunk to think that they are somehow derailing you. They want you to succeed. They want you to be good. They need it. The more good actors they bring in, the more happy little campers that come to callbacks, the more the directors feel, God, what a great group that was. I just feel great about having callbacks. Because directors don't like it either. Because they'd sooner be tinkering with the script or doing all the things that they need to do. There are a few of them I found that were like Sidney Lumet, who couldn't wait. Sidney Lumet would literally go, I don't want to look at locations. I want to meet actors. Because every time he did it, the script got better. He called Patty and go, ooh, this girl today. You know what she said? It was so good. And all of a sudden the script would get, like this. And there are many of them that are that way. Many, many, many of them that are that way. So if you can take that bunk away from casting directors, it makes a huge difference. They got to do a hard job. Besides culling down, picking, they got to say no. A lot of people are disappointed every single day. And they're responsible. They don't like it. I want to go over here now. Talent, craft, training, and resume. Everybody's talented. You're not more talented than everybody else. Everybody's talented. Some of you are more relaxed about letting people see it. Some of you are less defensive about trying to prove it to everybody. But everybody's talented. Some folks are a little more talented than other folks. Doesn't mean anything. Nobody cares. It is not useful to tell people how talented you are. And the reason it's not useful is because, first of all, it's up to them to judge that for themselves. And number two, like all gifts, it is better displayed than talked about.